Good evening. You're on Street Talk with Father Russ Carmichael, and I got my great guest tonight, I'll tell you. Sitting across from me, I have the new citizen of the United States, Dominic, my co-host, but why have one of my favorite senators sitting here with me, Cathy Osten, and I am so glad you're back.
Thanks.
With us, and we're going to hear about what's going on with you. And it is amazing. We were just saying you're running again.
I am.
You're always running.
Pretty much.
It's like you're in a race. But before I want to talk about running, how have you got any time? The session has ended, and
So I'm sort of one of those people that thinks that when the session ends, there's still a lot of work to be done. We have to implement the laws that we passed this last year. We have to reconnect with our districts. I don't spend much time out of my districts anyways, because I represent 10 towns, and it's a broad district, but I'm going to every senior center in every town. I've been to 5 already since the session ended, and I have another one tomorrow. And then I will be going to as many of the veterans organizations and talking about some of the bills we passed that were about veterans. And I have office hours all summer long in a variety of locations to talk about things that people want to talk about, whatever they are.
If you can run, you can catch you.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, it is really true. Some people think, gee whiz, you're done with your session, or they say you're part-time or something like that. But the fact of the matter is, you're always on the go.
I am. I think we all are, but I know that I am. I spend a lot of time out there. I'm regularly meeting people. I'm always calling people up and seeing if they want to get together. I've been on other cable shows that are not in conflict with yours, because I wouldn't want them to be in conflict with yours.
It's okay.
And I try to just get the message out there on a variety of issues. I'm already working on legislation for next time, some pieces that did not pass this year. I really want to work on providing naturopaths with the ability for prescriptive abilities. They already have the same training as physicians, and so I want to work with the Public Health Committee. I've already talked to the 2 co-chairs to see if they'd be interested in furthering that cause. And they've indicated that they would be, and at least I'll get a public hearing and try to get it moving along. I have another piece of legislation that I want to work on next year that will, in the Higher Education Committee, that will provide a certificate program for teachers to get to work with kids with reading disabilities, in particular dyslexia.
We see you got to me before I could get it out. Obviously, 2 big things with me. Well, you got more than 2 big things now. Of course, the dyslexic stuff, because I personally am dyslexic and have serious problems, and wish they were able to identify that early on, which is really key. We were hoping to have your friend on here.
Allison, she's great.
We'll get her. We'll eventually get her on. The other thing is the veteran stuff, okay?
Right.
Now, our local viewers know that you're a veteran, but a lot of people that this goes out to don't, are not aware that...
Well, we did some really good work with veterans this year, and I am a veteran. I'm the post commander for our post in Baltic, and we've been doing a lot of work in Baltic on our Veterans Memorial Park. We're actually having a little poker run on September 13th in town to raise money to extend on phase 2 of our renovations in the Veterans Memorial Park. We did a fallen soldier statue this last year, and we're working on a kneeling soldier with a standing soldier above the kneeling soldier. One of the 2 people will be a female soldier or female military person, sort of not specific to any one branch, because we represent a lot of people that are in all different branches of the service. So I'm working on that. In regards to legislation this year, we passed a really, as part of the budget, we were able to have veterans that have a pension, whether they're National Guard or regular service, regular Army, Navy, doesn't matter. If they have a pension on the income tax level, it's now 100% exempted. That's the first time ever in Connecticut.
Oh, that's
It's about time. It was 50%, so we increased it by 50%.
Oh, that's nice.
I think that that's a really good thing. But I do have several pieces of legislation that did not make it through on veterans issues that I want to make sure it makes through. I want to simplify the Department of Motor Vehicle process for active duty veterans or military people, so they don't have to file every year. So we want to simplify that process because a lot of times they can't make it back to filing.
As you know, because of my own being in it, it gets difficult. In fact, I think we have an unregistered car right now because of that process going on. You know, do paperwork and stuff like that.
Correct.
I don't mean to stop you, but I got a caller.
All right.
Okay, let's say, okay. Good evening, you're on Street Talk with Father Russ and his guests.
Good evening, you're on Street Talk.
Hi, Ray.
Hi, Father Russ.
Ray, turn the TV down right now. Okay, you gotta shut it off. That, very good. Hi.
Hey, Father Russ.
Yes. You know my guest. You know my guest, Senator Osten.
Who's the guest?
I just said Senator Cathy Osten.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi, Ray. How are you?
And Dominic, you know Dominic. You okay?
How you doing, Ray?
You've been on the show, right?
Oh.
Okay.
Can I say hi to the young lady?
Got a question?
Hi.
Got a question, Ray?
Say hi.
I said, can I say hi to the young lady?
Okay. She said hi. Okay.
Hi, Ray.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm Father Russ's friend.
Ah, very good. Nice to hear you.
I was on TV a couple weeks ago
Oh, good.
with Father Russ
You'll be on next year.
and Dominic.
And Dominic, right, okay?
My buddy Dominic, you know.
Right. How come you're not at church? What?
It's a different day.
Oh, that's right, that's right. Yeah. Come on.
Father Russ,
Yes.
are you going to be out for the service tonight?
No, I'm staying in the house.
All right.
My kids are out. Are you out?
Okay, have a good night.
Okay, love you, Kai. Take it easy. Ray's a loyal. He's 13 years. Calls up every show and other shows on the network. He's a great guy. So, you know.
So on the veterans
Yeah, the
issues,
veterans. Let's give.
we did not get through an increase on disabled veterans and in particular on the property tax, and I want to work on that again. I had put in a bill for both of those issues this last year, and it did not make it through, but I want to work on it again, and I'm on the Veterans Committee, and I have a commitment from the chair, the Senate chair, to work on those issues. And then I really want to work on having a journal in either the House or the Senate that will look at the Blue Water veterans, just to tell Congress that we would really like to see them recognized, in particular for the effects of Agent Orange. Because many of the veterans that were on the water that did not step foot on ground still had the impact of Agent Orange.
Right, yeah.
So we want to make sure that they're, you know, I often say this, and I'm a Vietnam era veteran, but we treat our veterans very well now when they come back. As we should, we give them a lot of respect. But when the Vietnam veterans came back, we were very disrespectful to them.
Yeah, not
and,
good.
And I think it's essentially one of the forgotten wars. The Korean War and the Vietnam War were not given the respect. The Vietnam War more than the Korean War were treated disrespectfully. The Korean War you know, it's just not talked about that much. And we recognize our men and women that are fighting our wars today, and we recognize World War II, but we've forgotten about those in between.
Yeah, we did.
And we really need to start helping them. Of homeless veterans, most of them are Vietnam era veterans, that whole time frame.
Yes.
And in many ways, it's because we didn't provide them with the services that they needed when they came back.
Many under the PTSD and
Correct.
stuff like that, and the way they got treated. I mean, obviously, my friends come back. I missed it. I went to prison. You know, I had my own war.
Yeah.
But you know, I lost friends from I come from Newton and stuff like that. And some of my friends come back, and still to this day, well, they're back, but they're not back.
Right.
You know, and of course, obviously I love the work that you do, and you know, I've been blessed with my own that serve, and my youngest, and we do protect more, but I still don't think we do enough. I mean,
No.
you know, I mean, if you go to Rocky Hill during the weekend or someplace like that, the Veterans Place, there's nobody there. They're left alone. I mean, during the week it's busy, but
Right.
I visit, and I have friends in different up in Northampton, and you know, it's still not where it should be, I guess I want to say. You know.
Well, I think there's still always work to be done. It is something that we need to continue to work on. A few of the unions do events at least once a year up at Rocky Hill, and actually my uncle actually passed away many years ago, was treated at Rocky Hill for the complications of Alzheimer's, one of the first early onset Alzheimer's diagnoses that had happened in this area. So I think that we really have to pay attention to it. I know the new commissioner. He's a great guy. He is from Hebron, one of the towns that I represent. He's very good. He's got an excellent resume. Understands veterans issues. Understands the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars organizations and other veterans organizations. Works well with them. Does a lot of work with them. Is a really good guy. I want to start working on with him on some of the infrastructure issues that are at Rocky Hill, because some of the buildings are in very poor shape and they need to be looked at. So that's something that we need to look at and, you know, continue to improve upon so that they have a good living condition. So I think that's all good stuff. I wanted to talk how about we talk a little bit about the budget and how it passed?
You know, I'm probably one of the few people I actually read the full budget implementer.
Yes, I did too.
Because I was looking for specific bills that were being thrown in there, and I called it. What was the book?
I didn't want to get angry at my governor right now.
It was like you know, a stream of consciousness from one thing to the next. You had to be able to pick apart what was going on in there, but there was a huge amount of things that got put through.
On the implementer, yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, you know, I think we addressed a lot of the issues that people had some concerns about. We were able to put money back in to help out hospitals. You know, I'm a little disappointed, quite frankly, that the hospitals have not retracted some of their bad actions in regards to layoffs. Because clearly, you know, we were able to put $30 million back in.
Yeah, you've really fought for that. There's no, yeah, exactly.
And you know, in combination with that money and some of the bonuses that go to some of the top people in the hospital organizations, we could have saved a large number of jobs, and I think that that did not happen. So I'm quite frankly a little bit disappointed that that did not happen, and I look forward to it being acted upon, and I think that that would be a good thing. We cut. A lot of people don't realize how much was cut from year to year in the first part of the budget. We cut about $600 million in year one and about $800 million in year two.
I think, wasn't it like $230 million that was coming out of employees?
Out of the state employees,
union,
yes.
Money that was set aside for that.
Correct.
Right.
And this time, so that brought it up to over $830 million in the first year and $800 million in the second year. That's $1.6 billion in actual cuts that happened over current services. People, and we really worked diligently in the first part of the budget. What I'm very proud of is that we protected services for people with developmental disabilities and people with mental health issues. We protected libraries. We helped out veterans. We looked at a whole host of issues that were very important to the constituents in the 19th district and to the state at large. For the first time ever in the history of Connecticut, we actually looked at property tax reform. Yeah. That's a huge deal. That will provide immediate tax relief to the people in Norwich who have seen their taxes go up continually without having any ability to have it addressed. And we finally looked at the motor vehicle taxes. Now, for residents in Norwich, next July 1st, not the July 1st that just passed, but next July 1st, they'll either see an 8 mil or a 15 mil decrease in their motor vehicle taxes right off the top. In addition to that, Norwich will get over $1 million, I think it's $1.3 million, in additional revenue that should help them to cut costs. Hopefully, I would like to see them cut property taxes, whether it's by $0.25 mil or $0.5 mil. I'd really like to see that. That's entirely up to them what they do with the money.
Right,
but it's I would really like to start seeing us address property taxes and to decrease the what we're doing. We did put a soft cap on the raise of taxes, some people don't like a soft cap, but I think that you have. What we don't want to see is, what we're trying to do is see a decrease in property taxes. It's the most regressive tax that we have. It's the one that hurts small businesses the most because that they end up paying and covering the costs on the real estate ends of things and on the personal property. And so what we're trying to do is to decrease costs for individual residents and for small businesses, and this is truly a transformative budget that starts looking at this. Now, a lot of people say, why should we trust the state? The state never lives up to its obligations. In the last 4 years, the state has not cut municipal aid, and neither the budget that was presented by the Republicans or the budget that was presented by the Finance, Revenue, and Bonding Committee and the Appropriations Committee cut aid to municipalities, recognizing that that's a direct increase on taxes for them. Now, there was not a big increase in that aid, but there was no significant cuts that happened for municipalities, and I think that that's something that we should remember. We have not been very good as a state or federal government keeping up with the costs of education vis-a-vis special education. Yeah, right. And in part, we talked about whether or not we should dedicate all this money for special education. And quite frankly, I think that we couldn't dedicate it just to special education. We really need to see our property taxes start to go down. And so we dedicated it to the towns and let them decide how they would look at that. Now, we're saying that they should not go up more than 2.5% a year on their property taxes. I think that that's a laudable goal for people to have. And I think that we have to start looking at that, quite frankly. It's something that's important.
It's complicated, and I think for the average person, when they look at this, they just hear either one side or the other, and it's almost like you have to wait until it's actually implemented. You can see the dust settle, and you actually get your tax bill and you say, oh, I'm paying less money for my car this year, or I'm not getting a bigger increase for my house.
Right.
Or I think the other one that I know that passed was hospitals and universities. If they're not dormitories, or if they're going and expanding, that they have to put the money back onto the tax rolls. They can't automatically use the not-for-profit status to be able to avoid paying taxes on certain properties and other things.
And we made sure that on the hospital ends of things, it was not for the small hospitals, it was for the large conglomerate hospitals like the Yales and the Hartford Healthcare, and that the money would not come out of the small hospitals, that it would have to be paid by the parent organization. So we put that in there also. And we made sure that you could still expand your footprint. So if you bought a structure or something that was adjacent to the hospital or school, that did not impact that. That would go into the nonprofit ends of things. But if you were buying a doctor's office that was on the other side of town, that would still remain as taxable property. So that you would not see a rise in your non-taxable property base, and would not see an ultimate decrease in what you're receiving, which would create a ripple effect of putting that dollar amount on to the regular residents.
Which is good, because I know in my area, I look at all the doctor's offices, and they're all going under, like, the Yale system.
Right.
I mean, I'm out Milford, so Yale, New Haven is, pretty much all around in that area.
My question then becomes, what about the pilot money? Okay, because the pilot money from the nonprofit is supposed to help reduce that.
Well, we changed how pilot is going to be put out there. We made a tiered system. So on a town like New London, where we sit right now, we'll see a dramatic increase in the pilot money they get, because we start recognizing what their percentages of nonprofit tax, nonprofit base. So you look at what you have for nonprofits, and it was adjusted. Now, nobody loses money. Everybody keeps the same amount of money that they were getting, but we had to increase in the pilot money that was going to some municipalities in order to have them finally get stable, because in a town like New London, like Norwich, like some of the smaller cities and the larger cities, they have so much property that is non-taxable. It either has hospitals, or it has other nonprofits,
we're
or
something like 52%. Which is a huge amount.
Right.
So the burden of taxes are on, people that have homes and stuff like that, and a lot of them, the real tragic ones are the elderly.
Correct.
And that keep getting increased taxes, and then are on stable incomes now, retirement, and they lose their homes. I mean, that is such a shame. I mean,
So that was so there is a real change in how we handle pilot, and there's also a real change in how we looked at property taxes. And I consider this budget a transformative budget, and we're just going to have to. It's a first step. This is not the end of property tax reform. The state of Connecticut needs to really look at how we're handling property taxes. Again, the most regressive tax that is out there. We did this through a mechanism of imposing a unitary tax on large corporations like GE and Aetna. There was some dust up over that.
Seriously.
And we were hoping to start the property tax reform this current year. As a result of some of the dust up that happened in a couple of different areas that we readjusted, it won't start until July 1st next year. Then it will stay stable moving forward. But we created what is called a unitary tax, or combined reporting tax, so that companies like GE, Aetna, Home Depot, Walmart cannot say we are only making money in Delaware. So they would say, we're not making any money here in Connecticut. Exactly. They put all their money making in one area that that didn't have any taxes, or they would only have to pay in that one state instead of every place else. Now, mind you, this is done in 27 other states, so this is not a new and novel thing to do. This is a method and the companies are not taxed twice, and so it's not anything. And right now, GE pays 0 in taxes to the state of Connecticut.
Exactly.
And so small businesses end up making up for what GE is not paying. And I think that that there was. It's very easy for GE to use their political power and their money to put out advertising that is skewed to misrepresent what would happen.
What's happening, right.
So we did that. We also increased by a small amount the taxes on people that earn income of $500,000 a year or $1 million a year as a couple. They, in my opinion, will not even feel it, because a percentage for them does not cut like a percentage does for a middle-class family. So a middle-class family loses a percentage, and they cut things like gas, food, medication, and other things. Right. Someone at the level of earning income, not someone who has $1 million in the bank or $500,000 in the bank, but earned income in that year, will see a slight increase. We didn't really hear any complaints about that at all.
It's a couple of rounds of golf, maybe.
I don't even think it's that, to tell you the truth.
Neither do I.
I don't think it's even that. Yeah. We did not go through with the computer tax, and we'll continue to look at that, but that stayed the way it was, and will stay that way at 1%. I would say that we are less today than we were 20 years ago on the percentage of taxes for corporations in Connecticut. The one tax that, again, businesses complain about the most is the one that we really started looking at hard and have worked to change that, and that is the property tax. So with that method, I mean, that's a quick overview. It's not every little detail in the budget, but that's a quick overview of what it was. And I'm very, very satisfied that we finally made that step of looking at property tax reform.
And this was truly, it was pieces from both sides, all sides of the table.
Correct.
I mean, this is pieces of the governors. This is pieces of what the Republicans put forward, and
Correct.
It's pieces of what the Democrats put forward.
Well, and that's a good point. I think that when people say that people are not in the room, that's a little bit disingenuous too. Everybody that is on the Appropriations Committee, whether Democrat or Republican, sits at the table, are on all the subcommittees, talk openly about the budget. That's true of Finance, Revenue, and Bonding also. I don't happen to sit on either one of those committees, so I'm always interested in the budget. I like the numbers piece of it. Mm-hmm. I like looking at things, and I'm also somebody that is very tight with the dollar, so I'm not interested in spending a lot of money. But I'm also not interested in cutting off services for people that I think really need help. I'm not interested in having 80-year-old people taking care of their adult disabled children that can't take care of
They can't
themselves.
take care of themselves.
And
No.
I got easily 4,000 or 5,000 phone calls
Oh, you know.
during the session
Right.
from people who were in those positions.
Well, right now I know who's watching you at home. Bobby's there, Darren's there. You know, Happy, obviously, who's on tonight. Kathy's on. You know Kathy? Oh, cookies.
Yeah.
Saturday, Cathy brings you cookies. And yeah, I mean, when they're talking about cutting our folks, I mean, that really gets scary because a lot of people, and that's what it means though, okay, we deal with it in one way, but when you have elderly parents scared to death, dealing with their mentally challenged child or brain injured or
Correct.
stuff like that, it becomes very, very scary.
It is,
for
and
people.
it's not, and I think it's, quite frankly, I think it's immoral. We have an obligation, and we made a promise when we closed the training schools, when we closed Mansfield Training School and some of the other places for, back then, people were called mentally retarded. And we had institutions that held people, and we closed those places and we said, we're going to provide supportive housing. And then we closed our state hospitals, and we did an even less of a job with that. And we said, we're going to provide supportive housing, and we did not. And we wonder why our prisons are overflowing with people that have mental illness.
About 30%.
And
Huge amount.
it is.
Huge amount.
And when I first started working in the Department of Correction,
Yes.
it was single-digit numbers, and it is over 30% now that of the population that's diagnosed as chronically mentally ill.
Yeah, exactly right. You don't know. There's a
Not-
population.
Not even necessarily. It could be higher if everybody was looked at.
Right.
And I think that, and I went out to Horizons out in South Wyndham the other day, and they provide a summer camp for people with developmental disabilities. And for many families, that's the only break that they get that provides good care for their family members who they love, and but they still need some time
You need a
to have an adult time, or to, as one of the fathers said to me one day, I'd like to sit in my chair in my underwear and watch a football game and not worry about anything.
Yeah.
And he never felt he had the opportunity to do that. And he wasn't taking care of a child, he was taking care of a sister. And that's a difficult situation to be in, and he's willing, he and his wife are willing to do it, but every once in a while they need to have time to act like a couple. And, so I think that when we're not taking care of our obligations as a state, that's just not a good way to be. Now, this budget also put in additional money into schools. That was a compromise with the governor, because the governor likes school choice. Now, I'm not opposed to school choice at all, so there are 2 new charter schools in the budget. There are some additional seats in charter schools. I think that there were other pieces of legislation that required charter schools to be more transparent, and that's my only issue with a charter school. Now, I have a very good charter school in Norwich. It's the Integrated Day Charter School. That's where my grandkids have gone to school. It's an excellent school. It's got a unionized workforce. There's a long waiting list to go to that school, and I think that that's important to provide children and parents with an ability to choose. And so I'm very supportive of having those environments. I think they have to be transparent on how they spend money and what their results are. So I think that that's also a very good piece of legislation.
I agree with you on too many things, Kathy.
I know, people are going to start talking.
But it's true in all the areas, because we're talking people stuff, folks that need, they're serious needed things that have to be put down and dealt with, and well, the disability community is so fortunate to have you in a leadership position and stuff like that. We know, personally, we have many folks that have those problems, and most people, a lot of people don't know about them, but we have so many people that are affected by those disability issues, and you know.
It's families, you know. I think it's like you said. I mean, they're the ones. I know. I mean, everybody that I work with, you know, they have family that's heavily involved, and you know, I try to make sure I take away as much of the burden that's on them so that they can be able to function, because some of them run their own businesses out of the house, and you know, they need to be able to go out, and some of them are taking care of their grandkids, or you know, they volunteered to take care of their brother or their sister, and having that support and people being able to go in there so that you can function on a day in, day out basis.
Right. But
it's so important.
But even you know, in the last since the budget passed, and right before right after the budget passed, before the implementer had passed, and you know, we need the implementer documents to actually use the budget that was passed. So we had. I've had people call me who were being denied services through the Department of Developmental Services, and I was able to intervene for them to make sure that their children who were aging out from the school-based to an adult-based system, and some of them were being denied services, and they had had one-on-one care throughout their schooling and needed one-on-one care. They need it. It's not a want. It's a true need, and they needed somebody to be there. In one case, one mom was told, well, you should just quit your job and stay home. And she said, well, I'm a single mom, and if I'm not working, how am I supposed to feed my children? How am I supposed to make sure they're okay? And that's something that I just won't tolerate happening. And called up the agency, and we were able to fix the situation in both cases. Now I have another family that I'm still working with that takes care of their grandson, and their grandson needs to be in a residential environment. And they missed the residential environment placement by the grandfather was not quite 70. He was 2 months shy of 70, and they didn't provide that housing. And I think that that's you know, disturbing. It's not like that this is their child, this is their grandchild, and they took on their 4 grandchildren and were taking care of them. Exactly. Only one of them is disabled, but the other ones they took care of and got them you know, through high school and in a good path. They're great people, but it's time for them to actually have some time for themselves and to get their grandson placed close to them so that they can still maintain the relationship that they have. And their biggest fear is that something will happen to them and he won't be correctly placed, and then he'll slide back. Because he's doing okay now.
He's doing okay. Well,
I think that's the biggest fear of every parent.
Yeah,
every parent worries about what happens when I'm not here.
We deal with that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, just dealt with. We just dealt with 2 similar cases where that was in long-term care facilities that the individual stay was ended, and they did not have the process ready for them to transition into the community, and that seems to be a glitch that's running right now with our department. I don't know what's going on, but it seems to be a glitch.
It's a huge problem right now.
It's a huge problem right now.
It is. And it's
we almost
devastating.
And
it's extremely devastating, and you can anytime.
Yeah, I know.
But it's absolutely devastating to the families, and it's just. It puts them in a position of having their stress level, which is already too high, getting exacerbated and getting to a much higher level.
What I had is they called me and they wanted to place the individual with us in our care, under our care. And when we started to go through the process, well, we found out there was no money there.
Right.
You know, and I said, you know, I'd love to do that, but guess what? And this is a care facility. I don't have the option.
Of not
charging. I wish I could, or
Right.
I wish I financially was able, but I can't, and I couldn't do that. And the care facility was in the same boat. They had ended, the process had ended, so now there's no money going to the care facility. So they asked me what to do. I basically said I would call your local senator. They said, I said, no, I would go right to your senator, and which would have been Paul in this situation, tell him what the problem is and deal that through. Because there wasn't even a place in a homeless shelter for this individual.
Right.
And of course, we obviously deal with that a lot, and we know how much, I know how many calls you got, and you're right on the issue with us, and it is tragic.
Right,
You know?
it is. And there were other things that happened this last session. There was a piece in the implementer having to do with not allowing utility companies to put utility bills in minors' names.
This is
It's
your
my
your
bill.
Your bill.
It's my bill.
It's wonderful. I love that. Yeah.
Because another disturbing thing, when somebody turns 18 and they realize that their parents or somebody else
put their name.
has put in their name a utility, whether it's a cable bill or a phone bill or a gas bill or an electric bill, and they didn't know they even had this bill, and it's given them bad credit because it's already gone to collections, and they try to get a student loan, and they can't because they have bad credit. Well, what do you mean I have bad credit? I haven't even lived long enough to have bad credit, and they were told by utility companies previous to this that too bad, you have to pay off the bill, and we're not going to correct your credit rating, and so they couldn't get loans to go to school. And that's just or find a place to live. And then they said, not only do you have to pay it off, if you want to get the money back, you have to sue your family member.
Family or whoever
and that's
did that.
it's just not right. And there are programs that utility companies have that they can check on the age of somebody. And I found that it's actually much more common. The more and more people I talk to, I find it's much more common. It's
horrendous.
It's truly.
My God.
It's almost like with the amount of hacking and everything that's gone on. I know with like the insurance companies and all over the place. I mean, it's almost like with children. You should think that some of these credit reporting agencies would be able to do like a once a year, send out on anybody under the age of 18, because I check my credit.
I do too,
all the time. And I pay for it. But kids under 18, you don't think about that.
Correct.
But I almost think like some of these agencies, they should be able to send out an automatic, to anybody under the age of 18, because you can go years and people have stolen your identity as a child.
Right.
And you don't know it.
And you don't know it.
You don't know it. Yeah, because that's how it's stolen.
Yeah.
Right.
I know that from years past.
But I really think that that's something that we should pay attention to. Now, we also did a lot of work with the CARE Act, which provides discharge planning when someone leaves a hospital, and it identifies a caregiver for the hospital to go over the care that's necessary for the person who's been hospitalized. Oftentimes, we found that people were going home, and the hospitals had never they had talked to the patient, but they had not talked to the caregiver to let them know how the medications would act, what if they had a wound, how it should be dressed, what to expect, should there be any dietary concerns. And the goal is to provide people with the proper discharge planning so that they can stay home, so that they don't end up and in a worse position and end up being re-hospitalized. And it's been supported by the AARP and many other people. It's a really good piece of legislation that will, for the first time, start allowing hospitals and requiring hospitals to do discharge planning when somebody gets out.
Again, that's one of the problems I had. Not under ABI, I don't have the problem, but under developmental disability, okay, I have a charge that I'm, you know, I have a conservator and everything else. Like, and you place your papers in, so the hospital, the doctors, and everybody knows you're the conservator. Well, sometimes they don't notify you at all. The person could go in and do their business, and even if your papers are in, they don't check.
Right.
Okay, so, and they discharge or that without, they've talked to the patient, okay?
Right.
And the patient may seem like they
never
understand,
know what the level of competence
but they
are,
don't understand the level. That's exactly right. So the patient comes home, and you don't know what's going on, and they're not following the plan, because as a conservator, you were never put in the process.
So this doesn't even require you to go to conservator status.
No.
This allows a caregiver to be designated before you
go in, yeah,
discharge. And it actually requires the hospitals to participate in this and to talk to someone besides just the patient. Because sometimes the patient's busy getting well and not busy paying attention to everything that they need to do. They're just in the process of getting well. So this is another good thing.
Well, it's so good, because I just dealt with Yale recently now, has called me on all the situations on this particular person that I have.
That's good.
And inform me of what's going on with them and when they leave the hospital and stuff like that. Which is,
it's a good thing.
It's a great thing. Yeah,
it is. It's a very important thing. We also did some work on we eliminated the variable electric rates. So that for residents, not for businesses. Most businesses have the ability to keep an eye on the variable rates and have a variety of reasons to still participate in it. But individuals that are residents, even someone like me, I don't pay attention to every bill, and if you participate in the variable rates, if you're not paying attention, you could get two good rates and have and two good bills and have a third bill come in that wipes out any of the savings that you had with the first. So we eliminated the variable rates, and we think that that will save people money long term. And we just thought that the variable rates were too explosive to provide any real savings for people. So another good piece of legislation.
Another good piece of, and can you believe this? 4 minutes. I can't believe it. Okay, but you fill us in on all what's going on, and that's really the point. From my viewing audience, that we keep getting you back because I want to know what's going on. We want to know what's going on in our area, and okay, I didn't realize that. We got a call. Good evening. You're on Street Talk with Father Russ. You got all of about a minute and a half. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
I have a question for the senator.
Okay, go ahead.
With regard to energy bill, Senator, what is the rationale of the state of Connecticut allowing energy companies to charge commercial customers more per kilowatt hour than residential customers? I would think that we would want to keep our businesses competitive and keep them in business, but just like everything else in the state, they're driving us out of business. Direct result of government, by the way, and quite frankly, I'm appalled that anybody would allow this to happen. And could you just give me an answer on that, and I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So many businesses are charged by their best use, their highest rate, and that is, part of the result of a long term. Now, I actually agree with the caller that we should never have deregulated the electric rates. I'm not certain that that's what he was saying, but I'm going to tell you that that's what's caused a lot of our problems in Connecticut. That was supposed to, back in the 90s, keep our electric rates competitive with other parts of the state. Now, I could talk about energy ad nauseum for a lot of reasons, but part of one of our biggest problems in the eastern seaboard is the inability to get natural gas here and the lack of the right size pipes in the ground to get the gas here. I find this also to be an extremely fascinating subject, and I've talked with a lot of people and gone to a lot of different, gone through a lot of different discussions on how we get our energy into the eastern part of the states, and what the difference is between us and some of the other states. Why are our rates so high? And I think it's something that we have to continue to work at. We are increasing our ability to get natural gas into the area. And maybe I could come back and have a longer discussion on that, because I see you paying attention. We'll do it all on energy, and then your caller could call back and we could talk about it.
We'll do it on the next show, okay? Yeah, we get a lot of stuff in, obviously, when I have you on the show. Everybody says, "Oh, you're always quiet when Cathy's on." I said, "Yeah, because we talk
a lot."
No, that is not it, because
there's a lot of information to get across.
It's a lot of information, and we don't do those 3-minute sound bites. We want to know what's going on. Okay, next week.
Trangetta?
Oh, Michael Trangetta. Yeah, Michael. Huh?
He had to cancel on me. He's going away.
Paul,
keep me up to date.
Oh, we're sorry. Yeah, Senator Paul was supposed to be here, but he's going on a vacation. We'll have him back again. But our Councilman Michael Trangetta, if he hasn't, I know he's going to be on. He's always good with me. And then who we got the following week?
We have Robin Porter representative from down in New Haven.
Down in New Haven.
Talk about juvenile justice.
Juvenile justice.
And some of the reforms that happened.
Which we passed, thank God, signed into law, the second look. That was so good. And I mean, we were elated with that. So that's it. We got a lot of stuff coming up. Love you all out there. And the 21st primary here in New London for the mayor. All you Democrats get out there. You know, everybody knows who I'm voting for. Mike Passero. Hope you're out there. And we'll see you next week. God bless you. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Cathy.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And hey.